Point and Click Productions presents Why I Became a Psychologist. The Real Reasons. Well, I've been having so much fun telling you about my life, and it's been so satisfying, though scary, that I decided to go for broke. Sometimes people ask me, why did you become a therapist? Or why did you become a psychologist? And I give them some kind of answer that's some kind of compromise, usually between the truth and something truthful, but not really to the point, leaving out important, critical information in the interest of not compromising the psychotherapy that I'm commencing with that person. These being people who are starting therapy with me or in therapy with me. And since most people watching this are not in therapy with me, and if they are choosing to watch this, and I am not imposing this upon them, I see fit at this point in my career to come forward and tell this story. Now, I will say by way of intro and perhaps as a caveat or caution that nobody really knows why they do anything. I'm making up a story about why I became a psychologist. This is just how I experience it. This is a story in my mind about how I became a psychologist or why. And I will also say that I said, and I have this in writing from a kind of yellowish, crinkly, almost crumbly document that was run off on a mimeograph around 1977 or so from an after-school program at the Children's Arts and Science Workshop at the Broadway Temple in Washington Heights, Manhattan, New York City, that I said I wanted to be a psychiatrist when I grew up at age 7. So apparently this was just something innate. I read Charlie Brown, I identified with Charlie Brown, and then I identified with Lucy when she played the role of the psychiatrist. Psychiatric Help, 5 cents, remember that? Those of you who read Charlie Brown or read it. So I think there was something there where it was just written into my genes. I don't know. Ashkenazi Jews seem to be overrepresented in the psychological fields, psychotherapeutic fields. I don't know. Something about our genes or culture, both. So, with all that said, let's get into the really dangerous stuff. Baton Rouge, Cindy, Baton Rouge. Right. Okay, no, I really will proceed. Okay. Deep breaths. Okay. So, when I was maybe about, so connecting this with the last series about music, I'm going to talk a little bit about my relationship to music. Now, this is a deeply biographical piece. If you don't want to know, move on to another video. Obviously, you want to know. So, if you're watching. So, my relationship to music is very deep, and it goes way back. When I was 2, I would dance around to Vivaldi and other classical music. I even have dim memories of that, believe it or not. And then when I was 5, and I have very clear memories of this, I became obsessed with the album Tommy by The Who. Now, I have a sister who is 12 years older than me. I'm 46, she's 58. And at the time, I was 5, she was 17. The album had come out some, I don't know, 6 years earlier, something like that, 1969. And it's very intense, and it's very psychological. And I just glommed onto it and listened to it over and over and over and over and over, etc. And I was very interested in the meaning of it because it's a rock opera about a kid who witnesses a traumatic event, his father being killed by his mother's lover, and really age inappropriate stuff. It was the 70s. People didn't worry so much about stuff like that, what kids were and weren't exposed to. And anyway, it's just a record. It's not visual, and it's actually kind of just suggested. It's not directly portrayed in the lyrics. And then he becomes deaf, dumb, and blind, but not really deaf, dumb, and blind. We would now say hysterically deaf, dumb, and blind. And then later in the story, he has this huge epiphany where he awakens and he becomes this spiritual leader, and then is rejected by his followers and almost killed, and then turns to a more authentic spirituality. But as a child, this is really confusing stuff. And so I got kind of stuck on this. He's deaf, dumb, and blind, but he's not really deaf, dumb, and blind. And then there's also this very interesting part to me of the Acid Queen, because he goes through a number of different ordeals that lead to his enlightenment. And I think the very talented and intelligent and well-read Mr. Pete Townsend, working with the very talented and well-read and well-versed Kit Lambert and Chris Stamp, Lambert and Stamp, wove in a lot of themes from operas like Mozart's Magic Flute, that they must go through ordeals and so forth. So Tommy's ordeals involve traumas of different kinds that Townsend apparently has gone through. So sexual abuse, physical abuse, and then his parents trying to cure him put him in the hands of someone who gives him a psychedelic drug, the Acid Queen, played wonderfully by Tina Turner in the 70s movie by, whatever that guy's name is. Anyhow, I found this very intriguing. And people tended to give me straight answers about things back then. What's that about? And, oh, it's this stuff that makes you see things and hear things that aren't there and that are really interesting. Oh, well, that sounds fascinating. And then there were all these fold-outs. You had these big records. They were about yay. I can't even get it in here. They were big records, albums. And then this one folded out and had all this interesting artwork, and some of it was like connected with the Acid Queen and all the stuff that perhaps Tommy experienced on his acid trip. I'm going to take it to here and leave it on a cliffhanger. Or not a cliffhanger, since I might just record the next video now. I don't know.